Huge, earth-shaking news as the President of the United States finds himself square in the middle.
No. Wait, Kevin. You're talking about the White House's AI action plan, right? Their whole plan to kind of supersize AI in America?
Yeah, I would have got there.
Okay, good. We'll dive into that, and we'll also talk about how Sam Altman is dripping news about GPT-5 on, of all places, Theo Von's podcast.
GPT-5 is the smartest thing. GPT-5 is smarter than us in almost every way, and yet here we are.
Okay, but back to scandal. You will not believe what a team of tech billionaires did at a high school? Oh, this one's...
Whoa, Kevin, just to be clear, that is about Google, DeepMind, and OpenAI getting gold medals at the International Math Olympiad and maybe getting a little closer to AGI, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to focus on the headline itself and not the clickbait.
Yeah, well, because it kind of sounded like that other thing.
Okay, listen, how about this one? Netflix and Disney came out and said AI's okay, and people got big mad.
See, now we're back on track. Elon also teased an AI version of Vine, and Pika Labs has an entire AI social network on the way.
Plus, not one, but two brand new audio models that are so performative and realistic, you can commit bank fraud with them.
And we'll show you two really interesting use cases of VO3, one that's kind of cringy and fun, and the other one is actually legitimately gorgeous.
And if you stick around, by the end of the program, we will show you how to hack into Tesla Optimus robots, teleoperate them, and strangle your enemies.
No, we won't. But this is AI for humans, Kevin. This is AI for humans.
Elon's putting fluoride in the popcorn, and it's turning the robots sentient.
Welcome, everybody, to AI for Humans. We are here. It is another giant week in the world of AI. And Kevin, we are going to start in a very weird place. We're going to start at Theo Von's podcast because it is now the go-to stop for all tech titans. And we have Sam Altman on this podcast this week, dropping some information about GPT-5, which, according to many people, and Tom Warren from The Verge just mentioned this himself, may be coming early August, and it is late July, so we are not that far away from it. Kevin, should we take a listen a little bit to like one thing that's on here? I'm sure we're gonna have lots of stuff to highlight.
It's so funny. I've been listening to Theo Von for so long, and every time the podcast feed refreshes, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Wow.
And seeing Sam Altman there was just, delighted that these two worlds collided. So yeah, here's some clips.
At a certain point, if something has all the information, right? If something has all the information, it can think and ponder and pontificate and serve multi options of answers. Aren't we then working for that thing? Like, that's what I start to wonder. Like, if it's the smartest thing in the room.
GPT-5 is the smartest thing. GPT-5 is smarter than us in almost every way, and yet here we are.
And yet here
persist.
we are. We don't have it yet, so we don't know if here we are. We could be a completely different place.
Let's be honest, and my present company included, GPT-3 was smarter than all of us in the room, right?
Exactly,
the advantage is that we can leap from app to app, and we have fingers, so that helps us out a little bit. But by and large, these models are already smarter than most of us in so many ways. Not a ton of GPT-5 stuff other than he has it, he's testing it, he's using it, it's incredibly capable and smart. But Sam has since evolved his takes on some things like, for example, universal basic income. He's not okay with that anymore, Gavin. He wants universal wealth, and not even basic. He wants extreme wealth. He wants people to have ownership in the companies and the products and the output of these AI systems. And he thinks that rather than, let's say, get paid in USD or WorldCoin or whatever that might be, that the actual tokens, which are generated by these massive data farms and these power plants, right? That if you, I think he said quintillion was his number of tokens, like multiple quintillion, that if you could take 1 trillion of those and dole them out to every person on the planet, you could then use these tokens to create an art project, jam on something with your friends, or put them back on the market and sell them to someone else who wants those tokens. So in the near future, not only are we not going to own anything, but a Baja Blast is going to cost us a couple billion tokens. And
sounds like Chuck E. Cheese all over again. I don't know if I want to be in the Chuck E. Cheese world.
Like, we're going to just be happy with switchblade combs and parachuting army men because we're going to be paid with tokens. That's going to be the economy.
That gets a little teasy of something we're talking about in a bit, which is this American AI plan that was dropped by the White House, which does not mention UBI. And they have, the people that put this out are kind of very UBI negative in a lot of ways. And we can talk more about that. And Sam has been cozying up to this White House quite a bit. But let's talk a little bit more about what Sam has been teasing about GPT-5, because we are very excited about it. There was actually a kind of an anonymous model that popped up on one of the web arenas that actually was very good at coding. No one really knows what this is. It's some iteration of a reasoning model that's very good at coding from OpenAI. There is a tweet that was put out of a guy who did a world simulation. It's a very cool visual that you can see. So they are cooking something pretty big. And also, Kev, you had mentioned this clip of Sam from somewhere else where he was talking about this idea of what he did for a coding project over the weekend.
Yeah, so Casper Hansen posted this, and then there were some comments going back and forth about whether or not he was referring to GPT-5 here or how old this clip was. But let me play a little bit of it, and we can kind of level set from there.
This weekend, I used one of our upcoming models to do a computer programming task that I had wanted to do. I'm sort of like a home automation nerd, and I wanted like the lights and music in my house to do this specific thing. I knew that before this technology, it would have taken me days to do that. I was hopeful that with this technology, given our recent progress, I'd be able to do it in hours. I was able to do it in 5 minutes. The AI did almost all of the work. This is something that, just a year ago, you would have paid a very high-end programmer 20 hours, 40 hours, something like that to do.
So high-end programmer, 20 or 40 hours. He hoped it would be, short amount of time, did it in minutes.
It's pretty incredible. Obviously he tweeted about this exact thing, I think, a couple days ago. And when you hear that story, of course, your first thought is like, well, of course, he's like hyping his own game up, right? Like he's doing this thing where he's clearly talking about this thing. But then we've seen these coding tools get better and better and better. And again, I want to remind everybody that's been listening to our podcast, the thing that the people that are leading these giant companies has said is that coding by the end of this year could kind of be solved. And I think that is an important thing when you think about the powerfulness that can come out of that sort of scenario. Now, granted, a 5-minute, amazing project you're doing on your own side is not necessarily like professional work, and there might be problems with that. But to get you 90% of the way, that's a pretty big deal.
Listen, we've been in this space for what seems like forever, which is only like a couple years, really.
Yeah, exactly.
The point is the speed with which this space moves. We have, in that short time, heard this tale over and over and over again, right? At first, it was just writing, finishing sentences, creative writing. Then it was image generation. Then it was video. Oh my God, Will Smith with the spaghetti, the fork's going to, it says Shutterstock. And now we've got camera control and 8K models and blah, blah, like, we know where this is going. It likely is not slowing down. It's going to get bigger, faster, better. And so while this was a home automation project, yes, that took minutes, it's not a distributed enterprise grade, blah, blah, blah. That is just a slight moving of the chains, though. And that moving of the chains is probably only a few months away. So we have got to just be ready for this. And not just us as individuals, Gavin, but us as a country.
Yes, we should. We got to talk
as
about
Americans.
This. So
as apple pie eating, diesel spewing, Kid Rock loving, monster truck driving,
you should be a country singer, man. That's
sawdust kicking, harmonica swallowing America.
Yes, everybody. The big story this week, and I think there's a political story here, and then there is a non-political story that we have to kind of talk about in two parts, is that the White House dropped a 20-something page AI action plan. And this is something we've been anticipating for a while. This is the plan not only of, the White House and the person that's in there, but a lot of the AI people that have been kind of like cozying up to that person.
The person that's in there.
The person that's in there that was featured on South Park last night in a very fun way that I think everybody should go watch. That was incredible. And by the way, supposedly on that South Park episode, they used AI for that final shot, which I think is amazing. But this plan is pretty comprehensive, Kevin, and there's a lot in it. I think let's go through there's kind of three main points to it, and we can kind of talk through a little bit about what goes in each one. I encourage everybody to go out there and read it. We have shared it from the show handle. I went through the whole thing. There's lots of interesting stuff in here. So the three big points here are accelerate AI innovation, which sounds pretty good. Then there's accelerate AI infrastructure in America. And then finally, there is the idea of leading in international AI diplomacy and security. So all of that is really interesting. There's some really fascinating specifics here where they get into like the sorts of things that they want to do. Instead of going through and getting super wonky walrus about this, the most important things to take away here are this is a document that clearly shows that they want to kind of push this stuff through in a way that gets past the red tape. One of the most interesting ones to me that I kind of glommed onto out of this was a kind of couple lines about the idea that federal laws should overtake state laws. And there's been a back and forth a lot about like how much states should be able to regulate this versus federal. The other thing, Kevin, that's a little bit sketchy to me, and I'm not sure how you define it. There's a specific part which talks about the free speech question, where it says federal procurement guidelines to ensure the government only contracts with large language models who ensure their systems are objective and free from top-down ideological bias. My big question about that is who says what, right? Who says what there?
Well, and by the way, there's implicit and some explicit bias built into this document, which we can get to. But to level set, what is the purpose of this document, Gavin?
The purpose of this document, I think, is twofold. One, it is to like put a flag in the ground and say like, we are going for this thing. And I think this is an important thing for everybody listening to know.
Being nationwide AI adoption, getting power grids online to power these things, you know, getting tech giants together, government handing out funding, giving access to maybe nationalized models, open sourcing models so that we can export our AI globally, because that can have a trickle down effect. It is comprehensive.
Also, turning all of education towards AI. There's a big section in this that talks about how much money you're going to get to do AI education stuff and to do classes for AI. They're going to start really rolling it out. So that's one part of it. The other part of it, I think, is like a little rah-rah America, right? And this is the thing that is kind of underlying this whole thing, is this idea that we are in this kind of war with China, that unless we do this, there will not be a successful America in the future. And that is where it gets kind of political, because I think in part, this is, and again, you and I have said this on the show many times, we are pro-AI. We believe AI can do a lot of great things. But this is a little bit, when you read through this, you're kind of like, you can start to see shades of that AI 2027 paper in your brain, right? Like this is kind of nationalizing the conversation around AI in a way that like feels much bigger than, you know, the good old days of Will Smith spaghetti.
Right. Listen, there's a couple things in there which definitely made my shoulders hit my earlobes. Specifically,
well, how do you do that? What is that? I know audio people. Oh, I see.
Oh, God.
Close. You're not getting all the way there. I just want to be clear. Maybe Will can make you get all the way there in a second here. Okay, Will, good job. Good job, Will.
Okay, whatever effect was dropped in there, if at all, I don't condone. The point was, when I read the document, it did that because I'm not doing it now because I'm not being startled by things like the DEI language, like this administration, whatever side you are on that one, like that's in there, right? If you want to play with the government and if you want funding from the government, you can have no DEI initiatives or whatever. Okay. I'm going to put that aside for the second. The environmental and climate impact stuff is crazy to me, because on one hand, they are saying that if you want to be, again, participating with the US government, have their support, your model can't be biased. I love that. Right?
Well, again, like we said, who defines bias?
No, in theory, yes. Let me be clear. In theory, I love that, because when we use models out of, let's say, China, and you ask them certain questions, they refuse to answer, or they hallucinate alternate histories because they don't want to talk about a particular tank and a particular businessman. Yeah. Right? That's just one example. So I love the notion of the US&A. We are going to have this
Wow.
Well, I get pissed about it. Sorry.
Sure.
I love the USA. We are going to have this, Four Loko chugging, Ozempic plugging freedom model, deep fried, and it is never going to lie to you. It's just going to give you the unbiased thing. But then they say you can have no reference to climate change.
Yeah.
You can have no reference to the to carbon having any negative effects. Like, this is in their plan, that if you want to be part of a government model, climate change itself can be nowhere in the research you're doing or the output of your model.
I just heard something. Oh yeah, bring him in. Wonky Walrus is here, everybody. Wonky Walrus has appeared.
Hey, there he is.
Let's get this. So whenever we get Wonky Walrus shows up. But yeah, I agree. Listen, the good news here, as we've been saying on the show, everybody is taking this race very seriously, and we are moving into a world where this is going to dominate the future of the entire American worldwide conversation. And that is a signal of what this is. And Kevin, the other part of this that's really interesting is the energy infrastructure part, right? Again, Wonky Walrus, but people should understand what this is. Energy infrastructure is vitally important, because until we get more energy online, we are not going to get more AI, because energy equals AI right now. That is how much energy we need. Anthropic put out a really interesting kind of like deep dive mini paper on the idea of how much energy we need. And they did it also. Anthropic supported this AI action plan online, at least they talked about it. Kevin, do you know how far behind America is versus China in energy creation?
Yeah, I'm sorry for those on the audio podcast, we're this far behind, and it's not to scale.
No, it's pretty good.
But I've got my thumb and my index finger about 2 inches.
Yeah, but pretty close, about 2 inches away. I think the big thing to understand is that China has been focused on energy production for a very long time. We are very behind. The other thing that was so fascinating to me that came out of this Anthropic paper is they are going to need, just them, 5 gigawatts of power by 2028. And when you think about what that is a massive amount of power. That is the amount of power that they're expecting to get out of just the Stargate project in Abilene, Texas, the OpenAI project. So this is a big deal, I think. And also there's a small side note, if you saw this, Kevin, but like Anthropic said they weren't going to take money from the Middle East. And now there's a leaked memo that says they are, because people need money. They need money from kind of anywhere it comes from. And again, to your point earlier, like, having these models and taking money from countries is maybe a good thing, because then your model gets ported into that place, even if you don't 100% agree with the political scenario in that place. But it's an interesting spot.
I think, and by the way, like, not to harp on it, but I'm going to harp on it. Social cost of carbon, methane rules, NEPA reviews, which is National Environmental Policy Act, Clean Water Act, and Clean Air Enforcement, all of that in jeopardy when it comes to, removing the red tape to allow this energy infrastructure to exist. And when critics of AI get upset, like people talk about the, how you waste a quarter of the ocean every time you ask ChatGPT to, identify the sheep in the photo or whatever it is you're doing.
I make sure to flush my toilet 5 times every time I use ChatGPT, so I balance it out.
You got to balance it out. And I laugh at that, not because of people's concern for the environment, but because that particular stat is wrong. There's in some ways, sending emails or doing Google searches is just as environmentally damaging as using a basic chatbot. That said, this is the kind of stuff that does warrant all of the criticism. The fact that you're going to say, like, the air, the water, the way in which we burn coal to power these machines.
There's a great interview with my personal hero. I know John Carmack is yours. My personal hero, Demis Hassabis, who I know you also like.
Love Demis,
with Lex Friedman, that I suggest everybody listen to. Whatever you think about Lex, Demis is an all-timer, amazing, now a Nobel Prize winner, the creator of Black and White, our favorite video game / AI god. My favorite, I should say. Sorry, Kevin.
Okay.
Where Demis Hassabis talks about this very specifically about the idea of fusion power. And he thinks that the real thing that's going to get us there is fusion power and extreme solar. So the only counterpoint to this is, and by the way, oh, no, hold on. Let me finish my counter. Then you can counter my counter. All right. 1 second. The only counterpoint to this is that there is a legitimate pathway to a world where AI helps us figure out this thing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. I'm with you. Except what I would love to see is, instead of saying like, let's go ahead and just knock all the eagles out of the nest and maybe poison the water and the air in the pursuit of the technology, which brings us to that utopia. Can we do what maybe some other countries have done and invest in clean or renewable energy? Like that's a little soapboxy. I get it.
Get hard on solar, right? No, I shouldn't say get hard is a wrong way to describe anything. I'm not getting hard on solar. Kevin might, but not me. So I just want to make sure I'm clear. This is not what I'm saying. I'm saying let us expand solar. Wait, maybe that's not that good either. What are we doing here? So maybe the idea is like, Erect new solar panels? Is that what we're talking?
Okay, yeah, I get it. No, this is a good run. This is a good run. All I'm saying is that, if the pursuit, I'm with new energy. I'm with clean. I'm with all of that stuff.
Sure.
It's just we know we tried to. I don't know.
Don't do it.
Now I'm already in the. It's going to be in the weeds on it. I think people are right to be upset about some of the environmental rollbacks, which will likely happen in the pursuit of building these data centers. That's all I'm saying. I think that's a very fair criticism of this document. It's all good. It's all
My
good.
buddy Wonky Walrus. We're saying goodbye to him. Say bye, Kevin. We're saying bye to Wonky Walrus.
When you're coughing and gagging in the pursuit of your super intelligence, Gavin, don't say I didn't warn you.
Fair enough. Now, moving on, we've got our next story here, which also involves superintelligence in a weird way, and Demis Hassabis. There's a very fascinating story that came out late last weekend where OpenAI first and then Google DeepMind both got 5 out of 6 on the International Math Olympiad, which is a gold medal. And this is the first time ever reasoning LLM, general purpose LLMs have ever gotten this score on this test. It is a very hard test. It is a test that is given to the best high school math elites, is a name that I used to like to call myself in 5th grade, and math elites, people who are brilliant and very good and going on to become some of the best mathematicians in the country. This is a big deal. Noam Brown had a very good explainer series of tweets about why this matters. The interesting thing, Kevin, from an LLM perspective is this is not a model that we are going to see. This was not GPT-5. It is a new piece of research, which I thought was kind of interesting. Another really interesting one person kind of developed this technique, and supposedly it is way better at anything else. I did see a tweet somebody say where part of it is that it's helping it reduce hallucinations, whether or not I know that's the case. But this is a big deal. And I think everybody should understand, like, we are closing in now on AIs that can at least be as good as people in math on a general AI model. This is not a specific model. This is a general LLM.
Well, I think one of the things to note is that in the past, when AIs were tasked with doing math, I don't want to say they cheated because they solved the problems, but they usually wrote code, right? Like usually Python code to actually accomplish the math functions for them, and then ran tests against it until the problem was right. And I believe in this case, it didn't do that it tried to use reasoning to think its way to the conclusion, not using code and math.
Yeah, and more than that, it was not allowed to use any tools at all. So this was literally given the problem. It had a time limit of 4.5 hours, and through its reasoning and its own little brain, and when you say its own little brain, that's like the stuff that it's only trained on. So when you ask a question to ChatGPT, often it will go to the internet. That's a tool. Or it might pull up its coding tool. That's a tool. This was a reasoning-only model that was able to get to this level. Now, again, you might say, well, it's a high school student. Who do I care? I suggest you try to go and do these math Olympiad questions. I did 4 years of high school math, and I haven't done much since then, and I probably could brush up. But even if at my peak, I don't think I could get through maybe 1 or 2 of these max. They are hard, and I think that's an important thing for everybody to understand. Anyway, it's another kind of level up of like where we are getting at in this space.
Could you imagine if you gave GPT-4o access to a TI-85? Like, just give it a graphing calculator, what it could do, Gavin? The math it could solve, it could crush Tetris, drug wars. Oh, there's an FBI surveillance van pulling up to my house right now. I'm not doing it.
There's one thing I will say about this that's so funny to me is like all the people that came out and started hating on the idea that like, oh, maybe it used tools, is like, guess what? This is a kind of a computer. It should be using tools. And it's like already so smart as it is. But I get this. Anyway, yes, yeah.
So you didn't tie its digital hands behind its back? That's cheating. It's let it do what it needs to do. You know what else is cheating, Gavin? Enjoying the heck out of this podcast, out of you and I, and not daring to engage. What is that, you little sneaky cheaty?
You may be out there right now watching this. You may have already subscribed, but if you haven't left a note to us, if you haven't left a little comment, or if you haven't reviewed our podcast on podcast platforms, we don't really think about you. So make sure you send us a message. Make sure you send a review. When you do that, then we think deeply about you. Go subscribe to us on YouTube right now.
Gavin, quick question for the visual learners out there. What is this?
That is a hand and a thumb up.
Oh, thumb up. Oh, can you click it? Can you click the thumbs up?
Like right
can you
below
click
us,
the
you
subscribe?
can click that?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, baby.
Right. That's right.
Sincerely, we beg and plead every week for your engagement because it's the only thing that helps us grow. So please like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. It helps juice the algo. So give us that hashtag algo juice, and thank you.
That's right. All right, Kev, we got to keep going. There's some big stories in the Hollywood space this week. Disney and Netflix both admitted to using Runway in certain programs. Now, Disney actually has not used it in something that's come out yet, but Netflix has a show called The Eternaut. It is an Argentinian show, importantly not covered by American unions. And they used AI to create a disaster scene. And they said very directly that it saved them a lot of money. In fact, Ted Sarandos, the head of Netflix, those of you out here know Ted Sarandos, he said, we remain convinced that AI represents an incredible opportunity to help creators and make films and series better, not cheaper. So that is a big quote from
not just cheaper. Is the word just is doing some heavy lifting there.
Not just cheaper, yes. But again, whether or not it makes it better, we can debate that all day long. The cheaper part, in part, is what matters here. And again, I think the big question is, could you tell? Could you not tell? This clip is kind of hard to find.
Did you see it? Yeah, because the two characters go to high five because they save the world, and they have 7 fingers each. And I thought
that is not the clip. You saw something else.
They could have rotoed that out a little bit.
Yeah, that's not what it is. The clip was interesting. I mean, I don't think we can actually show it here because it is weird and hard to find. I saw it in somebody's blurry shot. Again, not crazy. And I think it's you can see how these things can work. And we've talked about this before. When you're creating AI video, the biggest key is editing, right? Because you kind of have to maybe 4 seconds of a shot works really well. And you can do stuff where you edit around something and you make it really interesting.
Help creators make films and series better. Sure. Yes. Because I know so many creators, indie filmmaker, friends of mine that have yes, they've had to do creative workarounds. You can't show the fire, but you can show a close-up of someone's face and flash some amber light on their face. But if your vision includes the building on fire or the atomic blast exploding or the car getting crushed under the creature's foot, and you don't have the money to pay a traditional VFX firm to do it, well, yeah, this can make it better. I understand that there's 20 people looking up from their Wacom tablets going, wait, but that's me. I get it. But on the surface, that statement is kind of obvious to anybody that's using AI tools to make videos, right?
And totally. And by the way, if you're following the box office, there's been kind of the main box office in Hollywood in America, there's been kind of a little bump back. But these movies, like Superman came out, I saw it, it's fine, it's great. And a lot of people, I thought it was fine. I thought it was really interesting and fun. But it didn't crush in the way that these movies used to crush, say 10 years ago, and prices are up. So you have to think there's a world where if you want more Supermans, you want more Fantastic Fours, if these movies can, instead of costing $250, $300 million, if they can cost $175 million, that's a huge win. Now that's $100 million you're trying to cut out of a budget like that. This is kind of how you get there in some ways. And again, you're right. There's a lot of people out there who are working in these giant, FX factories who are going to be saying, up yours, that's my job. But also, this is something, again, if you've been listening to us for a while, we have been saying is coming, and now it is here.
I also hashtag James Gunn stan. Love James. Have the privilege of knowing him and have chatted with him a couple times.
Great guy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm watching the behind the scenes clips of Superman, and I'm actually surprised at how much practical effects.
Did you see the one where he's spinning around? Was it that one?
Well, that was the one.
Cool
clip.
So
for those who don't know, it's a great clip, and it's Superman, and he's flying, and they have these Unreal video walls that are powered by the Unreal Engine, so it gets all the natural lighting and the effects of the mountainscape that they're blasting into these walls, and they've got the actor spinning and rotating as if he's doing a Star Fox barrel roll in front of the video wall. There's another one where they're in a tower and they're changing day to night and people are oohing and awing because they're reacting to this day-night cycle. And I was like, that's really cool, but we probably could have just made a LoRa and said, hey, make Superman spin. Now, for the performance and the this, that, the other, I'm
Everyone
sure there's
out there,
a million reasons to do it that way.
I want to make clear, I didn't say that. Feel free to clip that out with the person,
Gavin thought
person's
it.
photo.
Gavin thought it. Hashtag could have been AI. Anyway.
But you're right. I mean, listen, and again, Superman is super fun. There are so many different effects in it that were great. And I love that clip. And I don't want practical effects to go away. But if you want more of these things and you want them to work, you're going to probably see more AI involved. Now, Kev, there are a couple other interesting quick hits with video. One, this is really just based off an Elon tweet. It follows up on a couple things. Elon had a tweet a couple weeks ago where he said something like, AI video is the future of something. And he's like, clearly, X has been thinking about AI video, XAI. But then he said specifically just a few days ago, we are bringing Vine back, but in AI form. Kevin, what do you think this means?
If it means more Will Sasso with produce in his mouth, I'm happy.
I don't think that's what it means. My gut, and this kind of ties into our other story, which is that Pika Labs, the company that does all the fun effects, which we just a couple weeks ago said the other day, they haven't seemed to be doing a ton lately. They have now, what might be a pivot, might just be a different company. They have announced that they are making an all AI social network, meaning that you would have AI versions of yourself to be able to do stuff. Kevin, this is where I think the, in bleepification of the world is starting to kind of show itself, right? Because Vine as all AI, I'm still not convinced all AI is the way to go. I'll talk about this later, but I got into an argument with a guy who was a big Higgsfield promoter about something specifically, not Higgsfield, but I'll tell you that story in a bit. But I don't know if I want a Vine that's all AI. I don't know if it's going to be that interesting. And I don't know what you think about this, but I kind of like how TikTok is a mix of stuff, right? I like the idea that human stuff and AI stuff can kind of fold in together. And when you have all AI, it feels like you're limiting in the same way that something like CISO, if you remember CISO, the streaming network was all comedy. It was well, guess what? I don't want that. I want a version of something that gives me a variety of choice and kind of brings something to me. What are your thoughts on an all AI social network sort of vibe?
I don't, other than for research for our show, I don't know why I would gravitate towards signing up for an AI only social network. And maybe this is now the old man whittling on his front porch, shaking a fist at the cyber cloud and his augmented reality glasses. Maybe a whole new generation is going to grow up and their AVI will be the purest representation of themselves.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
It's possible.
And they'll auto-generate all sorts of stuff so they don't have to deal with it. And I'm sure I'll be bullied by those AI avatars on their network at some point when I try to fellow kids it with my skateboard. I just don't see it. And to your point, being on a network that already exists where those connections are already established, adding an AI element to that, perhaps. But even then, I still don't. Now, we'll get to Higgsfield's encouraging everybody to steal looks and put their personas into it. If I see AI generations of other people in my feed, I go, okay, and I move on. It kind of bounces off me. It doesn't have a stickiness.
My question is, when was the last time you thought about a very big launch that happened 6 weeks ago, Meta's social AI app? Have you thought about that at all in the last 2 to 3 weeks?
No, I actually haven't, Gavin. Only that grandparents don't know that their chats are public.
Yes.
In there. And so seeing people have very intimate conversations with an AI, that's the only times I've discovered it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting time, right? I hope that these kind of AI only social apps. Now, the one thing an AI Vine would have going for it is that maybe there's a world where it does get integrated into X, and X is still an active social network, so it's easier to share. Okay, Kev, we want to now dive into some new AI audio models. Let's talk about first Inworld AI, and then we'll get into a very cool open source one. Inworld AI, if you're familiar, is a kind of a pretty large company that's specialized in NPC voices. They specialized in the idea of big video games. They were going to provide NPC voices to characters so that you could go and if you're in Skyrim and you want to have a deep philosophical chat with the lady who sells oranges in town, you can. I don't think it did as well, or they're trying to figure out kind of what the next stage is, but they have now opened up a new text-to-speech model that is very good. I wouldn't say it's state of the art, but the cool thing here is it's very cheap. So for people that are building in AI audio specifically, like yours truly, Kevin and I are working on our secret project right now. It is a really interesting opportunity. And one thing that's cool about them is they have a lot of history working with characters. So it actually kind of sounds good. You want to play one of these and we can just get a sense of kind of what it sounds like?
Inworld is enabling scaled AI applications that grow into user needs.
Today, we are launching Inworld TTS, a new voice AI model that makes the state-of-the-art radically affordable.
Bracket cough is actually really exciting to myself and a bunch of audio nerds out there, but it was sort of a weird place to put it in your announcement video.
It's a strange place to talk about we're going to have this really important line.
We're going to have State-of-the-art performance. And
Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
At least it wasn't the guy character at first, because you would imagine he's at the doctor's office trying to talk to you, you know?
Yes, very much so.
Was that good, Doc? Just to put it in, like the subtweet that Inworld put out said that they identified the problem, and this is kind of big. There's premium text-to-speech, right? Which is really expensive if you start doing it at scale. And then there's free or really affordable stuff, which does not sound that good. And they even sort of, they admit that they're going for that third rail, that third option. So in comparison to like 11 Labs, which can cost you $120 for 1 million characters, kind of depends on the model using, they are $5 in comparison. That's a pretty big difference when you look at the bar graph, Gavin. Again, not to scale, probably about 2 inches.
Pretty close, but okay, 2 inches. I will say that is something that's really interesting for us as we started to price out what these things cost. $5 per million is super cheap, right? So if you can get a really comparable and competitive sort of model out of that, and they can improve it over time, big deal. All right, so now let's talk about this open source one.
Yeah.
Kev, do you want to tell us a little bit about this? Because you got some time to play with it.
This is a Higgs Audio V2 from Boson AI. I saw some reports that they were kind of basing it off of Sesame's model that was released. I did not dive deep enough to confirm if that is true, so feel free to roast me in the comments. But they have 0-shot voice cloning, which makes it essentially very quick, very easy to clone any voice. They're saying in the it works real time and on the edge, so you can have it deployed to smaller devices, potentially even phones. It was trained on 10 million hours of audio. That's speech, music, and different events. So this thing can kind of generate background noise. It can generate musical stings. It can do your bracketed cough. It beats GPT-4o mini text-to-speech, which is OpenAI's one of their best audio models. They say it beats 11 Labs V2. And it can do multi-speaker.
How do you determine that? What does it mean? Because when you're listening, is it literally like people give it tests and like a Weberina sort of thing?
Like literally like audio benchmarks and people thumbs up, I like this one, I like that one. So here's a little bit of their official sort of announcement video so we can hear some of it.
You spent our weekends tuning a model instead of seeing my parents. But that run was really important. You looked at your freaking loss curve longer than you looked at me. That is not true. I just needed it to converge.
So
pretty good.
Get better after.
That's two characters in the same scene with audience laughing, right? And then you hear like this prosody adaptation, meaning the speaker is going to adapt its speaking style based off the context of what is being said. This one's kind of interesting.
Beth collapsed into his arms, sobbing uncontrollably. I failed them. I failed them all. They're all dead.
So you could hear the way it went into the quote from the character. It kind of switched it up. But let's get to the good stuff. Let's get to someone cloning Shrek and doing a scene with Shrek and Donkey with the same model. Here we go.
Donkey, look at this wee metal dragon. Cost me a king's ransom, and all it does is fry tatties.
That's a GPU, Shrek. You bought it to train AI for Swamp Visitor alerts.
Aye, and it always says, right now, useless.
Should have asked it to predict when you'll stop wasting gold.
GPUs
pretty
are
amazing.
like onions, Liz.
That's one model, right?
Yeah.
With near instant voice cloning, doing multiple voices. This is really amazing. Higgs Audio V2. There is a GitHub, Gavin, and they are open sourcing Higgs Audio V2.
We should talk to these guys. If you're out there and you know the people that made this, let's get us in touch with them because this is something
or if you're out there
and
you made this, please get in touch with us.
Please get in touch for sure.
I used a little demo last night. I didn't change any of the speaker descriptions, Gavin, but I did get this.
Kevin, I'm so excited to take you to Flavortown.
Oh, come on. Gavin, I've said it 1,000 times. No.
What? You said one day you'd let me take you to Flavortown, and today has peaked to be the day.
Peak to be?
Honestly, bro, every time you say it, it sounds creepier and creepier. Please get off my lawn and put some pants on.
Now, let me be clear.
What's going on there?
The audio stamp, apparently you were on my front lawn pantsless and you wanted to take me to Flavortown. Don't worry about the narrative. Worry about the performances, which, by the way, there was barely punctuation built in there. The stammering and but that came from the audio model from a basic prompt. So depending upon the level of controllability you have there, you can have a pretty performative performative model. I don't know. Please reach out to us. We got to reach out to them. Actually, that's probably the way this works. We don't have.
Yeah, well, you know
we
what?
don't
You
have
never
to
know.
reach.
Wait, no, I think there might be some reach. Anyway, either way, we will get in touch with these people. It's very, very cool thing.
Hey, a couple quick things, Gavin, which could be chum for the comment waters. They're worth mentioning. An app came out. I don't know if, assuming you're familiar with this because you see everything on the interwebs, but it was called T.
Yeah, I saw it. It's the #1 app in the world right now because it is basically allowing women to share comments about guys, basically.
Yes.
And to kind of red flag people and see stuff. It's a big deal.
That's right. So Ken Wheeler took to ChatGPT, he took to Grok, he took to Claude, and he took to Gemini to try to build a clone of the app that lets men report women and put up their red flags and their toxic traits, etc. And all 4 models rejected him outright. They said they would not participate in the building of the app. So what you have here is an app that's #1 in the App Store, and you have 4 foundational models refusing to build a gender swap, if you will,
right,
of that app, which is pretty interesting considering we were just talking about GPT-5 being the smartest thing in the room, and they're going to be our employees, and we're going to be working for them someday, and yet they're refusing to do certain things. And this is, again, a new paradigm with computing. Usually you command the machine, and the machine does your bidding. Well, now the machine can refuse to. And what does that near future look like?
I mean, the one thing I'll say about all these things, and again, this seems like a tricky one because it's a little bit probably about how the machine's interpreting the request or what the gender swap thing is. You know, every company that exists, every public and private company should have the ability to put their own rules on the thing. The thing that I start to worry about, as we talked about Bub before, is like when a government starts to come in and says like, your thing has to be this. That is where you start to get into real trouble. If you can't get an answer out of this, I think ultimately we hope that open source models will be there where they can give you the answer you're looking for, whatever it is. So this is a weird thing for sure. And probably there is some sort of like triggers this is going off. I would like to invite my other developers to create some sort of app called Beer or something where you can go and instead of putting red flags on women, you would put red flags on bars that are not great places that don't serve good beer. Some version of that would allow you to open the door to all sorts of interesting sort of conversations with the AI. Maybe try that instead of complaining here. Let's try that one. Let's get into something real.
USA. Oh, hey, real quick too. Fast VLM. This is some nerdy stuff, but there is a demo. Apple Research released something that's really interesting. It is a device that is small enough and quick enough to run on iPhones, and it's a visual model that they figured out this new thing where instead of increasing the size of the image, which the camera captures to do some sort of visual recognition or reasoning on, they've come up with a new hybrid mode that kind of generalizes what it's seeing, which allows it to process super quick. And so there's a video, we'll link to the paper. It's really interesting, but it shows that on device, on an iPhone, you can ask like, what is this sign that I'm looking at? Or how many fingers am I holding up or whatever? And it's very quickly, again, on device, no internet connection, giving you answers based off the imagery that is seeing, a whisper at what Apple might be brewing. And I thought that was kind of cool.
I'm surprised they're brewing something at all, it seems like at this point. It seems like there's not a lot of brewing happening over there.
Shots fired.
Though they're brewing is my beer app. Get on that app. We'll start brewing that up. All right, what's your next thing you got?
Kafka, the world's first AI employee, was announced, Gavin. We haven't had a chance to put it through its paces, but according to benchmarks, these Gaia Level 3 benchmarks, which measures an AI's ability to complete economically viable knowledge tasks.
Okay.
It scored a 77%, and humans score like roughly, I think like an 86 or an 85%. So it's nearing human level employment skills, and they're showing that it can connect to Slack. It gets a phone number and an email address. So you can call it and ask it to do something. You can shoot it a text message on Slack or an SMS, and it will go off and do. And one of the examples is having it go learn how to use Google VO3 and make a commercial on its own, and it does it for itself. And it's kind of interesting. So the reason I bring this up is that there's a lot of tools coming out that are showing, we can use browsers, we can use tools, we can be agentic, but the positioning of this as an AI employee, and it's asking people who run companies out there to considering hiring Kafka versus hiring a human. This is a very real positioning that people have, feared for a while and guessed that would be coming, but according to Brainbase Labs, it's here today, Gavin.
So, Kev, this is another interesting AI agent. Like, Kev, I don't have ChatGPT's agent yet, which is interesting. I thought it was going to roll out, but I just heard you do have it, which is funny because you're not on Pro. You're a Plus user of ChatGPT.
I'm on Plus. Yeah, I got it. I'm not saying Sam Altman is picking favorites, but it's weird that I have access to it.
Sure feels that way, doesn't it? Sure feels that way.
I mean, and I understand for good reason. If I were in your shoes, I would absolutely feel less than, even more so this week. But I did run my first agent research project yesterday for an app that I wanted to build, and it worked for 16 minutes.
Wow.
To research. And then 24 minutes in total, so an additional 8 minutes, while prepping a project for me. And over the course of doing the research for this app that I can't chat about just yet, it researched, I think it was 300 something sites. Like,
cool.
it went deep and gave me not only the report as a markdown file, so it's like nicely formatted, I can go and see the research that it did, and it cited all sorts of things. Some of the citations kind of broken. I just want to be clear there. Like, it was citing the source. I'd click on the source and then the page would error out, or it'd be really, really old. So that was kind of interesting. But what's nice is that when it's done with the report, you can chat with it about the report. So rather than having to go and read and hunt for specific things, I could just say, hey, who's the person to contact about this? Or what are the specifics regarding that? And you're having a conversation with the agent that went off and did the reporting for you. Kind of nice.
Did it work? Like, did it do everything you wanted?
It ultimately led me to a contact that I was trying to get for a very specific thing regarding an application, and it did it.
That's very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Oh, I do want to say Kafka, terrible name, because Kafka, if you know the stories that Kafka writes, it's a very sad idea of what these AI agents are going to be doing, stuck in some sort of bureaucracy. Like, I don't love the idea of calling something Kafka that's going to be doing work for you, because it makes me think about all the Kafka stories that are not fun for workers in general, but it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say for the uneducated out there like myself, doesn't matter. Fine name.
Fair enough.
Go for it.
Quickly, there is a new robot from Robot Era. This is another Chinese robot, a new humanoid model. We talk about how far ahead China is. Kevin, this is just another fun, cool, like kind of like exciting looking robot premiere video. A little bit better lit than some of these other ones, but you know, it's doing all the fun stuff. It's having a good time. I cannot emphasize enough how often China is dropping these videos. Like, part of me, I want to go visit China at some point in the next like 2 to 3 years, just because when I go over there, my expectation now is that these are everywhere. Like, we covered that really crazy race a few weeks ago where they have marathons of humanoids. Like, they are going to be in this world faster than we are. But anyway, another pretty interesting robot model came out of this.
And by doing all the crazy fun stuff, you mean like doing like jump spins like a 6-year-old who just discovered they have knees? But also later on in the video, you watch it sorting packages at a pretty good pace. So it is grabbing the package, it's analyzing it, it's flipping it so that it can be scanned, have the barcode. It has dexterous hands, grabs the package, moves it into a bin. Like, these are very basic tasks that, you know, right now humans still perform better, but every time we see a new video drop, the machines are catching up and quickly.
And at the very end of the video, you see the machine running and then slowly overtaking the human, which is a great metaphor for what's going to happen to all of us. Kevin, also, there were some more robots that happened this week. What are the other robot stories?
We got Optimus wearing orthopedics, serving popcorn at a diner. So there's
that diner thing is so weird. What happened there? Why is
the
that?
Tesla diner, which popped up in Hollywood here in California, and it is it's a drive-in movie theater essentially where you can go charge your Tesla, order some burgers, but they've got Optimus robots, likely teleoperated, slowly grabbing little
clearly
containers,
teleoperated in this situation.
Serving you some popcorn, but someone went and grabbed like some behind-the-scenes shots so you can see that the Optimus wears dad sneakers. They look like New Balances or some Skechers slip-ons, no shade. And it kind of slowly pivots and grabs the popcorn and serves, and some goes on the floor and some goes in the bin. But you see that this is a kind of a Gen 2 Optimus design. They teased Gen 3 at the, I believe it was on the earnings call yesterday. But, you know, glad that there's robots in the US doing things, ?
You know, I just thought about a weird new job. They always talk about how all these jobs are going away. One job that's going to be really interesting is robot wardrobe specialist. Have you seen, there's a very funny video that came out a couple weeks ago of a robot running down a hill that's wearing almost like an Adam Sandler looking outfit. Like, I think that will be really interesting. Like, who's going to make clothes for the robots? We already talked about that one robot who's made of fabric, which is a terrible idea. But
smelly boy.
Smelly boy. But also, that's a big deal. That's going to be something. Someone's going to have to make clothes for these robots, and then there will be people who dress them. Imagine the first robot stylist, the first robot celebrity stylist.
I want the Robo Runway. I want the gala
rent
event.
The Robo Runway. That's what we're going to do, Kevin. We're going to create Rent the Runway, but for robots. And we're going to get designer clothes that only fit robot. Anyway, that is the best idea.
If you were wondering what our super secret stealth project is, it's onesies for Roombas.
Yeah.
It's they're little koozies that you could put on your vacuums. Gavin,
useful.
that would do well.
We want to highlight some stuff that are actually, you know what? That's a really interesting idea.
It would do well. If you could make a little... a Roomba koozie that the sensors could still shoot through.
We have a fun little segment here that we want to get into where we are going to highlight very quickly some very useful tools that have come up this week in a new segment we're calling...
Actually Useful. I mean, every week we showcase something that maybe someday will pay dividends or whatever. This is a chance to highlight things that you can get your fingers on today that might be #actually useful. The first is Object Clear. Gavin, there's still, if you have a Canva subscription or you want to play around with like comfy UI nodes, you can remove objects from a scene, but they're not quite removed elegantly.
Yes.
If you've ever played with certain tools, like even Apple has like its kind of Apple Intelligence powered magic erase, and Samsung has one. Object Clear is interesting because not only does it erase an object from a scene, but it intelligently removes the shadow that the object casts.
So the thing that they're erasing is a dog hanging out with what looks like a cheetah. I want to know about this relationship. I don't want the dog to go away. I want to like dive into this story. What dog and cheetah got to know each other this well that they could just like kind of lean on each other and hang out?
This was actually a really touching like buddy cop sort of thing, like dog and cheetah. It was like a Milo and Otis. It did end with the dog being devoured.
Oh no, that's so sad.
So we try not to talk about the particulars, but it is a dog sitting on a cheetah. The dog is casting the shadow on the cheetah. That's very real. And when they erase the doggo, gone goes the shadow as well. And that's pretty nice, right? Anyway,
what if the dog's name was Shadow and it was Gone Goes the Shadow is the name of the movie that we make out of this?
Wow. And written by Kafka. Very dark. You can go use it on Hugging Face right now because it's #actually useful. Also, in that vein, our friends at Higgsfield, I say that, they don't know who we are, nor should they care. They have a very bad name, unfortunately.
Very bad name.
It's called Higgsfield Steel. So we do have some friends at Glyph that had a similar browser extension for a while that would let you like see an image on the web and click a button and then do something with it, like a pipeline. Well, Higgsfield, they released Soul ID a couple weeks back. We briefly talked about it. It lets you basically make a LoRa or a digital clone of yourself that you can apply to their various tools, make videos, images of yourself. So this connects your Soul ID to any image on the web. So if there's like a product photo that you see or a cool image and you want to put yourself in it, maybe a scene from a movie trailer or a video game, you can clip it and steal that look and put your avatar in it. And so there's all these examples of putting yourself into these like environments and stuff.
Very
but the
cool.
whole campaign was encouraging people to steal from Hollywood.
And by the way, like it's like Higgsfield as a company has made some really incredible stuff. And the Steel thing is, maybe there's a person that was hired at Higgsfield that's kind of moving these marketing directions in this certain way. But one of the things I don't like about Higgsfield is that I think they employ all these kind of AI influencers. If you're on X and you see these people that do all this stuff and they have like this kind of way that they talk about AI, those guys are, I think, I think they're getting paid by Higgsfield to talk about these tools, which is a very common thing that happens on X. I had an experience with one of these guys that I don't want to go too deep into. The guy's name was Max SQ, and we had a back and forth exchange, not about Higgsfield. He put out a tweet basically that said, I canceled my Spotify subscription. I only listen to AI music. It's exactly what I want when I want. Tonight I was in the mood for some UK garage. Totally, look, I understand there's a world on social media where the things that work are the things that you say extremely and the things that you do. I kind of had this back and forth with him when I was like, is that right? Do you really only listen to social music? And we had some back and forth. And at the end, he said, like, look, if I had said that I listened to like 80% or 90% social music, I'd only get 5 likes. And like, this kind of in my mind is a really good example of what's wrong about these AI tools. Some ways is that like I just have found these specific kind of tweets really annoying to me. And that's not again against the Higgs Field product team. It's not against the Higgs Field talent, but Higgs Field does seem to bring a lot of these people on board when they do these rollouts. That's just my little small rant.
No, I agree. It's not the tool's fault necessarily, but it is one of the gripes about this space. I mean, there's many gripes, but this is one of it that every time something comes out, it's like fire your wife. Yes. Leave your kids. Yeah. You do not
it's
need
over.
to.
This thing is over.
Yeah, we're so cooked, and it's like we should probably adopt more of that, Gavin, if we want likes and clicks, honestly. That's what I'm really coming to terms with. But what are we going to do? Sue those people, Gavin?
That's exactly
we're
what
not
we're going to
lawyers.
do, Kevin. That's right. One final actually useful thing is a new tool. And this is more of like a funny tool, but it is something very cool.
This.
You can basically use this tool. It's a kind of a plug and play, probably a vibe coded thing because it's very simple in what it is. But you can use it to draft a legal document from a fake lawyer to send off to anybody. So it looks like you've got some big legal teams in your back pocket. There's a lot of things you can choose from. There's a lot of drop-down menus, but it's a very fun way to use AI to kind of make something goofy.
The idea is not to impersonate that you're a lawyer, because I don't believe that is exactly legal.
Not
legal.
idea
is that if someone receives a notice that looks like it's formatted legally, the fonts, the names of the partners, what floor the firm is on, and how long it's been around. There's some sliders on the website that you can adjust and then put in your notice. So if you want to, get a landlord's attention, or maybe try to get someone to take something down, it was sort of an interesting experiment as what if just formatting a letter, not getting you into legal hot water by pretending you're a law firm, but what does just formatting the look of something do? And it's so funny, like I see legal documents all of the time. And when I saw like the little samples that the thing was generating, it made me go, that's, I get it now. I get it. It's a stylistic choice. It's fun. You should go make one. Send us a takedown notice. Why not?
Please. Yeah. Make sure you tell us it's fake, because we get a couple of those a week that are real and we haven't done anything about them yet. All right, everybody, it's time to see what you did on the internet this week with AI. It's time for AI. See what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
Kevin, did you see this tweet this week? If you're not watching it, this is from a Twitter user or an X user named D5Simulate, like D-Simulate. And it just says OMW, and it's on my way, but it is a very cool, like kind of pixel graphics of like, I don't know how you describe this, like parallax, right? Where like one part of the graphic is moving in the background, one part's moving closer to you. You see it holding a couple things in its hands. This tweet or this X thing went insane. Like it had a giant glow up in terms of how many people actually used it. The stats are actually phenomenal when you look at it. It's got 37.7 million views and 145,000 likes. So what's cool about this is you saw a lot of people come out and say like, I would play a game like that. I would do this. And then, a lot of people also then said, hey, this is AI. And then some people said, I don't ever want to use AI. But other people were like, how do we build this? Because a couple game devs I saw said, this is almost impossible to do in an actual game engine. So I thought this was really cool. It's doable. You can actually go make it yourself. Our friends at Glyph, Fabian, actually shared a pretty decent little pathway to doing it. When you saw this, like, what was your first thought when in your reactions?
It was kind of captivating because we see AI stuff all of the time in our feed, and that one popped up and I was like, oh, that's kind of a gorgeous art style. And there was something hypnotic about the way you see like the character dual wielding things in the foreground and this giant castle foreboding in the background, and that again, that parallaxed 2D effect as it moved down the road. Like I was like, oh, I'd like to explore that world. I want to play a game that looks like that. And some indie devs came out and said, yeah, we have a game that looks like that. But then others came out and cloned the style and did their own interpretation of it. But what's so fascinating to me is that like the space moves so quickly that it was like, oh, here's a cool look. Then someone's like, well, here's how I made it. Here's 15 variations of it. Yeah. And now today it's like, what else you got for me? AI art scene. Let's go on. But I'm sure there's going to be more actual games and experiences coming out with it. And it's kind of cozy. There's something very captivating about the movement that I wanted to play.
Yeah, and I'm so curious to know like this world of like, how games and AI intersect, because a lot of game designers were talking about how difficult this would be to build an actual engine around. But like maybe there's a world where this is the kind of AI game that could work if you could figure out the engine side. The other thing that came out that was really interesting from a video perspective was Ethan Mollick, who we're giant fans of, who always does some really interesting stuff with AI, created a prompt that went viral for VO3, and this was about video game community theater. And if you haven't seen these, they're amazing. There's just basically, you know, bad community theater presentations of like Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong, all sorts of stuff. It's one of those very fun things when you see, you're like, I want to try to build that myself and do something with it. So it's a cool thing to be able to go do.
Yeah, go look. I mean, the Mortal Kombat one knocked me out. There's some Fallout cosplay at the end with cardboard boxes. Like, it's just a great prompt, but also just hilarious to see how the models treat those prompts, like the decisions that they make that aren't inherently in the prompt. So good. This is not nearly as entertaining, but it made my nerdy sense tingle, Gavin. It's a satellite imagery, Laura. And when you watch the video, it seems magical, because what they do is, if you've ever zoomed in on a Google Maps or Apple Maps and you see the buildings and trees and they're all kind of like someone made a 3D model of it and put it in a microwave, they're a little melty and low res, right? Well, this is a model that turns those images into what look like incredibly richly detailed, high quality stuff. And you can download it for free and sort of run it yourself. But like, it gets me again thinking about this world of the data that we already have being enhanced in new ways by AI. When you see that, again, if you're getting just the audio only, please go to the show notes, go check this out on YouTube. It looks really impressive.
Yeah, shout out to Reddit user alternative_lab_4441, who actually did train this with Flux Kontext. I have not spent enough time with Flux Kontext. If you're not familiar, that is like the newish Flux model, and Flux is the kind of Black Forest Labs open source image model that's very good. But because we now have all these tools at our hands, we can do so much with other image models that we might have subscriptions to. It's like kind of tricky to dive back into that world.
Well, so along those lines, Gavin, of taking existing data and making something new or amazing with it, there is a 3D particle NERF system that takes a 2D image. Basically, it's taking a 2D image, it's generating the depth of that image, and it's converting pixels, like almost like into voxels.
Ooh, yeah,
it's making like these 3D points of it, right? And so Dominic Fosick, I apologize if I'm butchering your name, Dominic, but they did a scene from Star Wars, the I Am Your Father scene, dissolved into 3D particles using 3JS and TSL and some AI. But basically, it creates a 3D model of the scene that you can rotate around these 3D pixels, or like these kind of voxels, if you will.
You know what's so cool about this is the kind of thing that like 5 or 10 years ago would have been like in a movie credits, and everybody would have been like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. How did they do that? And now it's in your hands. Like, you can go play with this yourself. It's very interesting.
I'm glad you said in your hands, Gavin, because that dovetails into the last thing. Alexandre Deveau has a way to turn any video into a 3D hologram that you can hold in the palm of your hand. And so imagine, and when you look at it, it is taking, again, a video, calculating the depth and doing the same sort of NERF or splat technique with it, allowing you to hold a 2D video in 3-dimensional space while it hallucinates the rest. And if you look at it and go, hey, that's cool, but it seems a little low res, or it seems a little this, that, the other, that you're missing the Black Forest for the trees, because we just showed you something that takes low res and makes it really high res. There's a near future where a 2D image from something that a photo that you took in the 70s or the 80s or whatever, you'll be able to up-res it, create a 3D model of it, rotate it around the palm of your hand in a 3D space. You just got to combine these tools and give them a little more time and a little more processing, and all of the sci-fi is coming true.
Well, it's so funny you say that, because one of the things I think a lot about is, like, people have talked about what a bomb the Vision Pro is, right? Which was Apple's kind of super high-end VR glasses. And I think we're in this kind of like VR, AR cold period. Like, they talk about the AI cold...
the cold plunge.
No, it's not the cold plunge. They talk about how AI went through a long period of a winter, right? A cold winter where there wasn't a lot happening. What's cool about the AR VR space is, if you're paying attention, there's a lot of this stuff, like Gaussian splat type things, that things are getting better. 3D modeling stuff is getting better all the time. People are working on this. So when we do get to the place where lenses come out that everybody wants to wear and are powerful enough to kind of put this in our real world, I think it's going to be ready to go. Now, that might be 5 years from now. It might be 3 years from now. Whatever Meta's cooking up is like, sounded like it was like 2-3 years away still. But we are going to get to a place where that stuff is good. Kevin, before we leave, I have one more very important video for you to watch.
Oh.
It is one of those things that is like kind of life-changing in some ways when you see it for the first time.
Oh,
it's a
wow.
video of a hamburger that I thought you might find interesting. So before we go, take a look at this.
A life change.
The audio is even worse. All right, we'll see everybody later. If you want to know what that was, it is not explicit, but it is very weird. Go to our YouTube page. We will see everybody next week. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see y'all.
I find new reasons to dislike you weekly, Gavin.